Okay, it's recording.
All right.
Uh,
First, you want to know my name?
well, we talked about doing a videotape, but I'd kind of like to know, first of all, why you wanted to do this.
Well, I thought it would be nice for my grandchildren and some things that my young children don't know about my childhood.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be kind of a nice souvenir.
Yeah.
So they can see it after I'm gone.
Well, they can see it now too.
Sure.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess what we'll be talking about is about your life, and to share some stories and some memories and that sort of thing about your life growing up
Yes.
in Mexico and the United States, and also a little bit about Mexican culture,
Okay.
and kind of sort of like a video autobiography, like you
Okay.
said, so everybody could learn a little bit more about
Okay.
you. I know you as Trini Mendoza, but I know that's not the name that you were born with.
Well, you see, in Mexico, they put a lot of names on you. My first name is Trini, which is Trinidad. Cuevas, that was my father's last name. And Loaiza was my mother's maiden name. In Mexico, you keep your mother's maiden name even after you are married. Your own surname after you're married. For instance, now my name right now would be Trinidad Cuevas Mendoza, but I would still have the Cuevas in there. Or else it could be Mendoza Cuevas, but you don't drop your last name after you're married or a widow or whatever. You always keep it. And I think it's very nice that you have your mother's last name all your life, or your father's. I think it is.
A lasting legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Trin, when were you born and where?
I was born in Morelia, Michoacan, June 24th, 1918. I always say the truth about my age. I'm not ashamed to be old. On the contrary, I'm very proud that God let me live this long to enjoy my children and my grandchildren and see some of them married with children. So I myself think it's a privilege and an honor. I know a lot of women will say they're 3 years younger, and I don't like that. I have never lied about my age.
You said you were from Morelia, Michoacan. Where is Michoacan?
It's a town about 4 hours drive from Mexico City. It's very close to Mexico City. It's a medium-sized population, but I understand that now it has grown quite a bit. I have not been back in Morelia for maybe 30 years. I did go back once. I left when I was 8 years old, coming to 9. My brother, which was 3 years older than myself, my mother and I. My father died when I was 5 years old. I can still remember a little bit about him, not too much, but some things I have kept in my mind. Small details about him.
Yeah.
He was a teacher. He was a professor at the universities in Mexico. And while he lived, my mother never worked. After my father died, she took in sewing in the house so she could be with us and at the same time earn money for us. She never wanted our life to change too much. For instance, she kept sending us to the same school, which was expensive, but she tried very hard. She had a lot of relatives, but she never wanted any help from anybody. She was very proud. At the time of my father's death, we were staying with my padrino, my uncle, the Archbishop of Mexico. And he could have helped my mother a lot, but my mother never let on that she needed help or wanted any help. She was very proud.
Your padrino was an archbishop?
Yes,
What
he was
his
my
name?
godfather when I was baptized. And he was also related to my mother very close, which in Mexico made him my uncle. Here he would have been my cousin. But in Mexico, the relationship kind of changes for some reason or other. And we lived with him for a while, at his home for quite a while after my father died. Then my mother decided to go back to the house and try to do the best she could. In 1928, my uncle that lived in Omaha, Nebraska, sent my mother the money and help her to get papers fixed so we could come to live with him because he was never married. And being that he was alone and my mother was alone, he thought it would be a good idea we came to live with him. But it didn't turn out to be too good because he was used to not having anybody around him. He always lived alone. And he had a big business. He had at the time a hotel, a pool hall, and a grocery store. And more or less what he wanted us for was to work for him. For free, of course, for our room and board. And that didn't work out too good. We were too small to be a lot of help like he wanted us to. My brother was like 11 years old. I was going into 9. And he expected us to work in the store. Besides that, there was the problem of not speaking the language. So every time somebody came to the store and wanted to be waited on, and we didn't know what he wanted, he used to take it out on us. He'd get so disgusted because we couldn't understand it. At the time we went to school, he took us to school. First of all, we couldn't get used to the hours. In Mexico, you go to school from 9 to 12. You get off at 12 and you go back at 3. So the first days that we were going to school here, we used to get off at 12, go home, which was only about a block and a half from the school. And then we would stay and play and go back to school at 3. And we could not understand why the kids were going out. They were going home already. And the sister would tell us, 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock. We didn't know what she was talking about. So the next day again, we'd come at 3 until he sent a note with us. And boy, did we get it. But we didn't know we were supposed to go back at 1. See, we were used to going back at 3. Well, it was very hard. And also the language. They would ask me in school, what is your name? And I would say, oh, yes. And they'd say, what is your name? And then I would say, oh, no. See, I thought, well, if one answer isn't right, maybe the other one is. It was very, very hard to learn the language. And we couldn't play with the kids because we didn't understand them and they didn't understand us. And so we were very much, disappointed. And I guess they didn't like us too well. It wasn't our fault, we could understand. After we got to understand them, then we played with them. And they accepted us, but not at first, they didn't. They didn't want nothing to do with us.
Were the kids in Mexico a lot different from the
Oh,
kids in the
yes.
United
Well,
States?
we were all the same, and we understood each other. And we all played together and enjoyed each other's company, and it was a lot different. So here it was really bad. It was also bad for my mother because she couldn't go anywhere. She didn't know the language. She didn't have the time. She didn't know the streets. And she was not used to walking in the snow. Which reminds me, when we started going to school in the snow, my uncle bought us some overshoes. They called them boots way up to the top. We couldn't walk with them. He used to make us wear them, and we used to sit next door and take them off and carry them to school. Then coming home, we would bring them, carry them, and put them on just before we went in the store. So he would think that we wore them, but it was very hard. We were very excited the first time we saw snow. Oh, we played with the snow and we ate it. Oh, it was unbelievable.
When was that? What was it?
That was in 1928.
In 1928?
Yeah. We came in October the 28th, 1928. And we had to wait like a couple months before the first snow. Yeah. Every day we would ask him, is it going to snow today? Is it going to snow today? We couldn't wait for the snow.
Well, what was it like in Morelia?
Well, Morelia was a quiet town, kind of quiet. No crime, nothing exciting. The exciting thing in there was on Sunday, we would go to church, and we would go to the market and buy our groceries. We'd take them home. Then the highlight of the day, my mother would take us. First we went to church, every night on Sunday, and also in the morning. And then she would take us to the plaza, and if she had made good that week, she would buy us our dinner, which was enchiladas and chicken with fried potatoes. Oh boy, it's really good. It's famous in my town, the enchiladas. It was right across from the cathedral. The cathedral was lit beautiful. It's one of the best cathedral in all of Mexico, the one in Morelia.
What's the
Famous.
name of it?
Just the cathedral.
Cathedral of Morelia?
Uh-huh. And, oh, that was just a wonderful thing for us. And then we would go home.
Yeah.
Next day, same thing. My mother would work. We'd go to school.
Yeah.
She used to stay up sewing till 2 and 3 in the morning, every morning, to earn extra money. And I never went to bed and left her. I always sat by her, and I used to get all the little scraps from material and make clothes for my dolls. That's how I learned how to sew, on my own.
In Morelia, did they have any special festivals?
Well, they have festivals like for the 16th of September, the 5th of May, Our Lady of Guadalupe, and sometimes for some saints, they do have festivals, fireworks and games, just like a carnival here.
Oh.
We never enjoyed it very much because we were always pretty short on money.
What about at Christmas time?
Well, that's when I really realized that there was no Santa Claus and no Three Kings. At that time, they didn't have a Santa Claus. Now they do. It used to be the Three Kings. And the 6th of January, you would put your shoe out, not your stocking, your shoe, and they would bring you gifts. And after my father died, we didn't get a lot of gifts. So we thought, something fishy. This can't be true. You know, it's just like living in Santa Claus.
Yeah. You were telling me the other night about the posadas.
Oh, that's something that they do 7 or 9 days before Christmas. We done them here one time in Omaha. I started it. There's 9 families, not 3. They get together, and each one has one day. They pick out the day they want. And you come to their house, and you say the rosary, and then you go outside, and you have what they call the Peregrinos, the Blessed Mother and St. Joe, and you sing songs and ask if there's room for you, because the Blessed Mother's expecting a baby, and they tell you no, they don't have any room. Then after you sing 2 or 3 times, then they said, all right, come in. And then when you go in, they have piñatas, and they have all kinds of real good food, and a lot of things for the children, a lot of things. So it was beautiful during Christmas time. And then on the 24th, they have the baby, they light him in a manger, they say the rosary, and each child gets a candle. Oh, it's really beautiful. And then they have a big, big feast, depending on how well off they are. Some of them even have the dance. You know, they're at the house, and everybody has a good time. It's beautiful.
What does posadas mean?
Well, I really don't know. It's supposed to be the meaning when they ask for, you know, if there's room at the inn for them. But I really don't know what does it mean.
You mentioned you had a brother. What was his name?
His name was Joe Cuevas, Joseph, after my father. And he died a few years back. That's about all I can tell you. He worked, and he has a wife, which is still living, and 3 children, Joel, Ronnie, and Connie. They're my cousins. But that's about all I can tell you about my brother.
Yeah. How about your grandparents?
Well, I don't know too much about them because my mother lost her mother when she was like about 7 years old. And then her father was killed in an accident. So she didn't talk too much about him. In other words, she didn't know them because 7 months old. And her aunt, which was in a wheelchair paralyzed, there were 3 of them, took them in. They didn't want them going to different homes. So she raised them, but she had 7 children of her own. So my mother didn't have it too good either. So that's why I don't know too much about my grandparents.
Yeah. And you mentioned your father was a teacher?
My father taught at universities and some of the biggest schools in Morelia. And when he died, they were transferring him to another town, and that's where he died. He went on ahead to get a house ready for my mother, and then we were supposed to come. Well, in the meantime, he had a birthday, and all his friends gave a party for him, and he didn't show up at the school the next day, so they went to look for him, and they found him dead. So we never saw him again.
Yeah. What are some of the special memories that you have of your father?
Well, you know, I remember 2 of the suits he had, the colors. I don't know why it sticks in my mind. He had a Kelly green, real dark green suit, and he also had a burgundy soup. And I always remember him when I was sick. He would make toast for me. He always burned it. And I love burnt toast and milk. And he would try to feed me, he'd make sopa de fideo for me, and he'd coax me and wanted me to eat. That's about all I can remember.
Yeah. And your mom, you said that she cooked a lot at home?
Well, sometimes she cooked and sometimes she didn't because she was too busy sewing. So when she didn't cook, I used to take over the cooking. That was so. Half of the time it was burned.
Well, I guess we had to stop and answer the phone. But you were talking about your mom cooking sometimes, and then you took over the cooking.
Yes, I used to love to go in that kitchen, and you know, I would help. Sometimes I would cook the whole meal.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was like, but I tried anyway.
Yeah. What was your comida preferida?
Oh, you know what I like to this day? Soup. And then it was easy to make at that age. I love soup.
What kind?
Beef, cut up your meat and put in potatoes, carrots, cabbage, everything. And it was good.
Yeah.
Shall I?
Yeah, just.
Cover it. You want to hear it? Oh, that's okay. It stops in a minute. Okay.
Okay. We'll just let it take. And what was it like growing up in Omaha?
Well, outside of going to school and coming home and help again, like I used to in Morelia, it was nothing exciting. We never went anywhere. Not anywhere. Nothing. Stayed home.
Have you always lived in Omaha?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have done a lot of traveling, you know, when my son's been overseas, and I go visit them in every country he's been in. So it's been exciting, and it's been a good life. Other than that, I'm in Omaha all the time.
When you were growing up in Omaha, did you date a lot? Because I understand there's very strict customs.
No, I never went anywhere, not anywhere, because, well, first of all, my mother was real old-fashioned. And then in Mexico, they were, at that time, now they're a little more lenient, very, very strict. You just couldn't go out with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so I never went out with anybody, never. I had my first date when I was 38 years old after I was divorced.
Yeah.
My first date was with my second husband, Jesse. It was very exciting when he told me, get ready and I'll take you out to dinner. I'll pick you up at work. Oh, exciting.
Tell me about it.
Well, we went together for about a year before I trusted him enough to marry him, because I didn't want anything to do with any marriage anymore. But it turned out that I spent the most wonderful years of my life with him. He lived 11 and a half years, and they were the happiest that I can remember.
That's great.
But you know, for my first marriage, I'm never sorry that it didn't work out too good. But I have a wonderful family that made up for everything. I have 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls. I'm very proud of all of them. They have never given me any trouble in any way, nor the boys, nor the girls. And so I consider myself very fortunate. My granddaughters are married, 2 of them. No, 4 of them. 4. And they have children, except Marcy. And I consider myself very fortunate. I have wonderful son-in-laws, wonderful daughter-in-laws, and you know, and I have a wonderful son-in-law. His name, wonderful grandson-in-law. His name is Lauren.
Trini, tell me about your kids. When they were growing up, what kind of things did they do?
They had a hard life because I used to have 2 jobs, and they tried to help me. And one day, my oldest son in Washington made me feel bad. He says, you know, Mom, he says, I don't remember ever being a kid. And that hurt me because they always had a paper route. They always tried to earn money, all of them, except Shorty. Shorty was a little more My mother favored him. He lived with my mother most of the time, and so he didn't have to work as hard as the other two. But the other two had their paper routes, and they worked at packing house when they very, very young. They started, and one of them, my youngest son, Bob, he worked at Phillips real hard. When he was just a little kid, maybe 13 or 14, he had a job at Phillips. And they also worked part-time at packing houses, and they tried very hard. But you know, I'm glad they had a hard life, because I think that helped them make better men, and they appreciate what they had. You know, they bought their own used bikes and their own cars. They paid for them. And I think that's better than when you just hand it to them and say, here it is. I think they appreciate it more. So I think that helped them to be better men, the kind of men they are. I'm very proud of all of them.
When Aurora was growing up, she's the oldest.
Yes.
When she was growing up, any special things that she did, like when she was dating?
Well, she's tried to sneak on her dates with Edmund, which is her husband now. She would get off of work and go with him. A couple of times they told me, we saw your daughter with that Aguilera boy. And I didn't say anything to my mother. But one day, she used to come home at 5:15 every day, and this one day it was 5:30, she wasn't home. So my mother said, you better call and see if she's working late. Just as I was about to call, she, car parked right in front of the house, and she got off the car with Edmund. And, ooh, my mother, and Ralph, her husband, oh my God, my stepfather. So she said, you see, and I'm going out with him tonight. I'm going to the show, going to the movies. And my mother said, no, you're not going anywhere. And they started, and I said, wait a minute. I said, she's going. I said, she's not going to make the mistake I made. When I got married, I had never gone out with my husband, nowhere, never. And I said, she's going to go with him, she's going to see what he's like, how he acts when he's happy, when he's mad at something, upset about something, and I want her to know him. And, well, I had a hard time, but she'd go to the show. Then they started dating. He would never come in, he'd always wait outside in the car. And one day he came and asked me if he could marry her. He gave her a ring on the night that she was crowned queen of the church of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And she showed me the ring, and I felt kind of hurt that they didn't tell me before. But it turned out very nice. She's very happily married, and it's got 2 boys and a girl, Marcy, Michael, and Eddie, and everybody seems to be doing fine. Very nice families. All of them have nice families.
How about Senaido?
Well, he's in Washington right now. He was all over South America, and I was lucky enough to be able to visit him in all the countries. And he has 4 children. One of them is married. One of them is going to college, and the other one is working. And my grandson Joey is working too. They all have good jobs. And they all seem to be very happy. So all of that makes up for whatever unhappiness I had in my life.
When Senaido was growing up, I've seen some pictures. He was a baseball player and a basketball player.
Oh, yes. He tried to get in all the sports, baseball, basketball, and you name it, he tried to be in them. That's about all he done. He never went to any dances. Never. And the only girl that he dated, he ended up marrying her. He did date her for 6 or 7 years. Till her mother told her, hey, wait a minute, how long you gonna go with this guy? So she told him, you either marry me or I'm gonna go out with other boys and you go out with other girls. And he didn't like that. So he came home one day and says, Mom, I've got something to tell you. I said, all right, when is the wedding? I knew what he was gonna tell me. But they're very happy. And she's a wonderful daughter-in-law. Just like the others.
How about Bob?
Well, Bob got married while he was in the service. He was not of age. I had to send a letter, certified letter, giving my permission. And he married this girl from Portland, Maine, which I did not know or had never seen. And then I sent them the money to come so we would all meet her. But instead of coming, they bought a television set, I understand, or something or other. And we didn't get to meet her till after, oh, maybe a year or so after they were married. And he brought her back home. And they've gotten along real good. She's a very good wife. And of course, they might have their little quarrels like everybody, you know. But then they have never been separated of anything serious. They have a wonderful life. They go to church regular. They brought up their children very good as far as I can see. So I'm real happy right there. I don't have any problems.
What was Bob like when he was growing up?
He was a very, very proud, very hard-working kid. He used to buy his own clothes. Sometimes he'd get mad if I'd buy him something. He said, you don't have to buy it. I can buy my own. He bought his own bed. He was hard-working. And Joe and him shared one room, Snyder and him. And my boy, the one that's in Washington, never wanted to make the bed. That was a fight they had. So at the end, Bob used to make half of the bed. Can you imagine? He didn't make half, just the part where he slept.
Only his half.
Yeah, that's all. He was always neat. He always hanged up his clothes and all of that, but not the other one. I think the other one takes after me, kind of messy.
How about Shorty?
Well, Shorty was very close to Father. In fact, we thought he was going to be a priest. The priest used to take him on vacations, and he used to cry and cry, be homesick. He was very close. He had a beautiful wedding. He had 3 priests at the Mass when he got married. And they were married 20-some years. And then something went wrong with their marriage. And they end up getting a divorce, which has been the only divorce in my family, my children. And I feel real, real bad about it, but maybe that's the way it was meant to be.
What was Shorty like when he was growing up?
Oh, he was very, very quiet. He never went anywhere. He's always at home with my mother. And I think Joe used to resent him because Richard always had a little more than the others. And he used to cross the alley. They lived right across the alley, my mother. And Shorty'd be playing with his little cars. And he used to cross the alley just to hit him.
Sinido?
Mm-hmm.
How about Rosemary? What was she like when she was growing up?
Rosemary went to the convent. She wanted to be a nun. She already had her black dress and her little black veil. But when she was there, she happened to be sick. And then the nuns told me I could take her home for a year. In that 1 year, she met Luis, which is now her husband, and she decided that she didn't want to be a nun. She wanted to go to convent. She wanted to get married. So she married Luis, and we didn't think it was going to work. I don't know why. I guess they're a little, you know, different. Rosemary's got a temper, and I don't know. I think Luis maybe has one too. I don't know. But it has lasted. They've been very happily married, like 27 years or 25. I don't know. I don't remember. But they're still together. They got 2 beautiful children and a beautiful, beautiful granddaughter. And the Nancy's expecting another one. So they're very happy. Luis is a very good husband, very good. And it seems like Rosemary's a good wife too, as far as I can see.
When the kids were growing up, you said you worked a lot. What were some of the jobs that you had? What was the most
Well, my
interesting
first job was at Phillips.
What was Phillips?
Department store. I started selling. And one day, Mr. Greenberg, the owner, wanted me to take over the tailor shop. Well, I was scared to death because I had done some sewing, but it was just sewing at home, things for my children. And then to be tailoring men's suits, I was terrified. But he had a lot of faith in me. He'd say, you can do it, Trini, you can do it. And by God, I done it. After that, I decided I was too good. So I got me a better job in a very, very expensive men's clothing store, Nebraska Clothing. And that lasted about 6 years. And then I went to another job. And while I was working Nebraska Clothing, I was working at the hospital too as a nurse aide. I would get off at 5 o'clock, Nebraska closing, check in at 5:30 at the hospital, and work the 6 to 11 shift. And that went on for quite a few years. Then I got a job at another store. My last job was at Foreman and Clark, where I was in charge of the tailor shop. I had about 8 people under me. I had a kid at the store. The people there, everybody was wonderful, and I really enjoyed my job. Mr. and Mrs. Spellman came here the other day to eat at the restaurant. They were very impressed, and they were very, very nice. I always try to do the best I could, because I can honestly say that every place that I worked, I could always go back anytime I wanted to.
Well, that's nice. You made a lot of friends over
Oh,
the years.
yes, a lot of friends. Wonderful friends.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You've had a lot of good times.
Oh, yes. I work also for Harvey Brothers about 25 or 30 years ago, and they come to eat here, the children, the sons, their sons. The gentleman's already passed away. His wife's in a nursing home, but she came not long ago. She hugged me, she kissed me, she says, "We're so proud of you." Oh, they're wonderful people. I also work for a family named Niemer. They were Greek, and to this day they are the most wonderful friends. I get real nice letters from them. They invite me to go on a vacation to their house. They says I'm always welcome, and all my family. They're wonderful people.
Changing the subject a little bit, what are some of the Mexican traditions or customs that you like the best?
Well, I like the posadas, and I especially like the mañanitas. The mañanitas, when somebody has a birthday, a good friend or a relative, or just anybody that you like, you get up early in the morning, you get a bunch of people, friends together, and if possible, you get some music, and you go in, serenade him. Oh, it's usually done around 5 in the morning. You go sing under the window, the mañanitas, and then they let you in the house, and they serve you a good breakfast, and everybody has a good time. And it makes a person feel very, very good and very impressed. I know when my husband used to bring me mañanitas every year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why don't you sing us a little bit of the Mañanitas?
Well, because I'm afraid if I sing, I'll get a contract, and I don't want to do that. I want to stay at the restaurant.
Oh,
Anybody hears me sing, and hey, that's the end of the restaurant. They want me to go.
Well, come on, why don't you sing the first verse?
Qué alegre está la mañana en que vengo a saludarte. Venimos todos con gusto y placer a felicitarte. Ya viene amaneciendo y a la luz del día nos dio. Levántate de mañana, mira que ya amaneció. That's the first one.
That's the first verse. Yeah. Is that one of your favorite songs?
Yes, because it reminds me of all the good times I had with my husband. And he used to play the guitar, and he always went to take mañanitas to relatives, to friends, and it's very, very nice custom. It's real. It's not annoying that they wake you up so early in the morning. People enjoy that.
Yeah. When you say that you take them mañanitas, why do you say that rather than singing them a song?
Well, what do you mean?
Well, when you say that you take somebody the mañanitas.
Well, because you get 10, 15 people that they have no idea who you are taking, and that's the way we say it. We'll say, "Oh, tomorrow's so-and-so's birthday. Would you like to go?" "Yes." And then you ask and ask people, and before you know, you have a group of 10 or 15 or even maybe more. And it just makes it very, very nice.
Yeah. What are some of the other customs or traditions
Well, I
that
used
you'd
to
like
love
to see?
the posadas and the mañanitas, of course. And then on Sunday, I think is real nice. All the young ladies that are not married and are never, don't have a chance to go out because of their parents, they go to the plaza. The plaza is right in the center of the town, and they have music on Sunday nights. I think the city pays for that.
Here in Omaha?
No, in Mexico.
In Mexico, in Morelia.
Yeah, in Morelia. Every town almost in Mexico. And the girls go and they walk on a circle around the plaza. And then the young men walk on the other side, and that's how some of them manage to beat their boyfriends, their future husbands. And it's very nice.
Hmm. What other songs do you like?
Well, I'm funny. I get real happy when I hear music. Any kind of Mexican music. It kind of does something to you.
What are some of your favorite songs?
Oh, God, I have so many. I like all of them.
Rancho Grande?
Not really. I like the other
Jalisco?
songs. Oh, yeah.
How does Jalisco go?
Jalisco, Jalisco, Jalisco. Tú tienes tu novia, que es Guadalajara. La perla más linda de todo Jalisco. I forgot. To be Guadalajara.
Does Morelia or Michoacan have a song? 'Cause
Oh,
I know
they do, but you know what? I never did learn it. They do. They have their own song. And it's beautiful, but I guess, when you're 7, 8 years old, you're not too interested in all the songs. You're more interested in playing than songs.
Because there's a song Guadalajara too, ¿verdad?
Oh, yeah. Guadalajara and a lot of them have their own songs.
But is the Las Mañanitas your favorite?
Well, that's like in all of Mexico, national, all of Mexico.
But what is your favorite song?
Oh, my favorite song is one that my husband used to sing to me. We used to sing it together.
What is that?
Me enamoré yo de ti sin querer, sin pensar que volviese a nacer. Aquel amor que hace tiempo yo perdí, aquel amor que ya no existía más en mí. Oh God, I forgot.
It's been a long time since you sang it, huh?
Yeah, in fact, I have a tape that he sang it for me, and when he died, I kept telling my son, play that song for me, play that song for me. So,
When
but I liked.
when you were a little girl, you said you learned how to sew and how to cook.
Well, see, when my mother used to be sewing so early, the hours of the morning, I would get a piece of material and a needle, and I'd have little dolls, cheap little dolls, and I used to try and make them hats and dresses. And she had a beautiful sewing machine. That was her pride and joy. And she used to tell me, don't touch my machine when she went out. And every time she'd go to deliver some dresses or buy some material or whatever, I would get on top of a chair and try to thread that machine and try to work it, try to sew in my little piece of material. Well, before she knew, one day I surprised her. I knew how to sew on the sewing machine. She wasn't too happy about it because, she had told me not to touch the sewing machine. But she understood that I wanted to sew. And from then on, I used to make all kinds of little things. Sometimes they weren't the nicest. Like when Aurora was born, I made it all kinds of things. And nothing fitted her. Everything was too small that I made.
Well, did your madre also teach you how to cook?
Not really. Later on, when I was older, I'd watch her cooking, and I learned. But more or less, I kind of learned on my own.
You made a lot of inventos?
Oh, yes. I would put this and this together and see what it tasted like. Sometimes it tasted very good, and I kept on making it whatever it was.
Yeah. El Aguila isn't your first restaurant.
No, I had one that was called Acapulco. We had all American food. We did have a Mexican day once a month for the people that work at the First National Bank, because at the time Rosemary was working there at the bank, and that was the only time we had Mexican food. But I got so that I liked it very much.
Working in the restaurant?
Mhm.
You like the business?
Yes, very much.
Why did you get out the first time?
Well, my husband had a heart attack, and the doctor told me it's the restaurant or your husband. So I didn't want to part of the restaurant after that.
Yeah. Was there anything else that made you decide to get out of the restaurant business?
Well, no, that was the only reason, because I didn't want, he said, next heart attack, and I don't know if he'll make it, so
Yeah.
I didn't think it was worth it. No business was worth it.
Yeah. I understood at one time that you got robbed too.
Oh yes, they held us up. My daughter-in-law, Christina, the one in Washington, myself and the dishwasher were coming out of the restaurant, and my husband was in the back scraping the ice off the car. It was in March. And three black boys came from behind the alley, and one had a knife, and the other one had a gun. Well, I didn't see that. He put the knife on the dishwasher, told him not to move. By then I knew something was going on. Then the other one came and put the gun on me, on my stomach, and he says, "Give me your purse." I said, "No, I won't." And he pulled on it, and I pulled on it. But then when he pressed that gun, I thought, oh, maybe I better let him have it. But still I didn't, because I was left with the handle. But you know, the funny thing, my daughter-in-law, Christina, was carrying a box with donuts that we had left over. She was taking them home for the kids. And they took the box away from her. And she said, "Oh, my donuts, they took my donuts." I said, "Never mind your donuts." I said, "They took everything I had." And they ran away. They were caught about 3 months later in L.A. because I think they tried to cash some government bonds that Christina had on her purse. And that's how they caught them. They still had 2 of my diamond rings and a bracelet. I got that back 3 months later.
That's good. When did you get the idea that you wanted to go back into the restaurant business?
Well, this used to be a very small place, and I used to go across the street and buy my groceries on Sundays at Safeway. And after buying the groceries, I used to give Arthur a ride so he could buy his own. Arthur is a young man that lived across the street from me at the time. And then, because I brought him to the store, he'd say, "Let's go in across the street and have breakfast. I'd buy you breakfast." So I used to come in here, and everybody seems kind of happy, you know? It was a small place, and everybody talking to each other. And I used to say, "Oh, if I only had this place." I used to tell Arthur, "You know, Arthur, if I only had this place." And he'd say, "What would you do?" And I would tell him, "Oh, I have it so different. And I would sell this, and I would sell that." And of course, he thought I was a little crazy, I think.
Did anybody else think you were crazy?
Oh, definitely. My sons, especially Bob. "What do you want with the restaurant? Who's going to buy tacos?" I said, "Well, look, if nobody buys them, I'll sit and eat them and just get bigger and fatter." But, you know, from the beginning, I wouldn't say we had crowds of people, but we never lost any money. Maybe we didn't make, but we didn't lose. I remember the first time that I sold $100. I was so excited. I wanted to tell everybody. Now, I don't get excited. I just want more, a few more hundreds.
Well, you've grown a lot since the early days at the Aguilita, but tell us about some of the earlier days.
Well, the earlier days were a little rough. Sometimes it was very disappointed. We never closed the place. I was here from maybe 6:30 or 7 till 10 and 11. And the profits weren't great. But we did have enough to pay what little help we had. At first I was the waitress, the manager, the cashier. Once in a while I'd even wash a couple of dishes, which I dislike very much, the dishes. But I was happy. You know, sometimes I don't feel good, I'm sick, I'm crabby, but I have to go down there. And the restaurant, why, I don't know. I just have to be there. And then sometimes I forget my pains. And sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm happy when I go down there, and something happens to upset me, then I'm disgusted the rest of the day. So sometimes it's good for me to go, and maybe sometimes it's not too good.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it. I enjoy it very much.
How old were you when you opened El Aguila?
Well, we have been here like 8 years, going into 9. So you can figure it out how old I was. I was past 60 or 60 anyway.
Well,
So
you're
I think,
73 now.
yeah.
So 8 years ago you
Yeah.
were 65.
So that's one of the reasons too why they thought I was out of my mind. But I knew that we'd make it, and I knew I was not out of my mind. Yeah, I have a lot of faith. I always have a lot of faith in what I do. I always know I'm going to make it. Like that, I'm going to make it. Even if I don't make it all the time, I try. I say that anyway.
Yeah. You've got a lot of great items on the menu. What's your favorite one?
I like the pork taquitos, and sometimes I like the chili con carne. But the pork taquitos I like. I also like tamales very much.
Yeah, yeah. The success of the restaurant when you expanded and that sort of thing. The success of El Aguila has given you the chance to, have a lot of nice things and of course do many things for the family. Me and Marcy and. Uh, Tell us about the things that you've been able to do.
Well, I tell you, I have met some of the most wonderful people here. I have wonderful friends. Oh, I think the world of my customers. And I'm also happy that if sometime any of the family needs a little help in any way, I know that I can help them, and I always try to help them in any way that I can. Any of them that will need the help, no matter what.
Okay. And you've got a lot of nice things.
Well, I figured I don't have too long to live, so I want to have the things to live comfortable and have some nice things.
Well, don't put it that way, but I know you mentioned that when you got robbed that one time, they took 2 of your diamond rings and a bracelet. You always like diamonds and gold,
Well,
diamantes and
no,
oro?
I think it's because I feel insecure. Well, first of all, my husband Jesse used to shower me with gifts, gold, rings, bracelets, anything I liked. All I had to do was look in a window and he'd say, which one you're looking at? And he thought that would make me very happy. And I remember one time we were driving home from Mexico. Aurora was very sick, she had a fever, and we stopped in the middle of nowhere on a mountain, and he had to use the restroom. So he got off, and we waited and waited and waited, and it was hot, and Aurora was sick, and I thought, well, what in the world is he doing? And Edmund said to me, probably buying you a ring. And we left. Well, when he came down and he got in the car, he grabbed my hand and he slipped this ring on my finger. He had found the ring there. They had a little place where they sold all kinds of things. And he found a fairly nice ring with a blue stone, an aquamarine, 18 karat gold. So you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. But
And now I think it's just a kind of security or something. And I figure, one of my son-in-laws asked me the other day, why did I want to buy all that stuff? I said, well, when I die, if I leave the girls or anybody a few hundreds, they'll spend them in no time and have nothing left. If I give them a ring or a bracelet, they might keep it a few years and have something, to remind them of me. And I thought it was better. So I try to buy little things, and I always say, well, when I'm gone, this is for Marcy, this is for Aurora, this is for Rosemary, this is for Chris, this is for Barb, little things. Won't be too much, but just something that they can remember me.
you mentioned going to Mexico. You've been to Mexico a lot of times. I know we've been a couple of times.
Well, going to Mexico is not too expensive because of the value of your dollar. I have relatives which I love very much and I enjoy seeing them. And so therefore I try to go as much as I can. When my husband was alive, we went every year. But after he passed away, I have been there a few times, not every year, but I have been there.
We had a good time when we went to Puerto Vallarta.
Oh yes, we have a good time. I enjoy it very much. It gets away. You get away from things and enjoy yourself a couple or 3 weeks, whatever.
Dancing in the streets.
Sure. Dancing, having a few tequilas, singing to the top of your voice.
Yeah.
It's nice. Very nice.
Time.
I don't wear my bikini.
Not
I don't
anymore.
go swimming.
Not anymore.
No, not anymore.
Just let them bring you the stuff while you sit on the
That's right.
beach.
I sit there under the sun with my sunglasses and let them bring me the Coco Locos.
I've heard a couple of stories that, you know, when you've had some good times, I know Rosemary probably won't appreciate it, but I remember one night when you and Nancy and Danny went to the Copa Alegra.
No, it was not the Copa Alegre. It was, what do you call it, on Q Street? A bar.
I thought that was Copa
Oh,
Alegra.
no. A little worse than Copa Alegre. Well, we went for a drink with some friends, Eduardo and Pete Flores, hairdressers. And we decided to go, they invited us to go to this bar. Well, after we had a few drinks, uh, my grandson came, and a cousin of mine that was here from Mexico, and my granddaughter. And, you know, one called for another one, and somebody bought another one. And before I knew, we had more than three. And then we went to this friend's house, and we spent the night there. Well, I didn't stop to think, and I didn't realize that my daughter and her husband would be very angry, upset, and worried about Nancy and Danny. I didn't realize. So the next day, when I called her, and she said that they were real upset and disgusted with them because they had not come home all night. And it slipped out of my mouth. I said, oh, but we were having such a good time. And she says, what do you mean we? Were you with them? I couldn't change it. I had to say yes. So I was in the doghouse too.
Kind of like the shoes on the other foot with
Yes.
mother and daughter instead of daughter and mother.
But we had a good time.
That was. You know, a lot of the talks that we've had, the nice things that you have don't mean a lot to you, but, you know, when you talk about the successes that you've had, you know, why does it mean so much to you to be successful?
Well, I think maybe some of it's for my children and some of it is for me. Just the satisfaction of knowing that I could make something out of nothing, really. And I think that makes me feel good and proud. I have wonderful help. I have a wonderful friend that helps me, Arturo. If it wasn't for him, maybe this restaurant wouldn't be what it is, because this young man works, 15, 20 hours a day, never complains. Him and I get into arguments, but we kind of patch it up later.
Well, we've been talking for quite a while, and I know I've been asking a lot of the questions, but, you know, before we stop, I'm sure there's some things that you probably want to say or that you want to talk about. So what would you like for everyone to know about you, your life, or anything at all?
Well, like I said, my life was not the happiest one when I was a young girl, or even after I got married the first time. But later on it changed. I was very, very happy with Jesse, and I'm not sorry about my first marriage, because if it had not been for that, I wouldn't have the wonderful family that I have, that have given me a lot of happiness, and also a few heartaches once in a while. But I'm real proud and I'm real happy that I have all of them, and I hope that they have a real long life and be as happy as I have been in the last few years, because I have been happy.
Well, that's good. Any comments that you'd like to make in Espanol?
Well, not really. I mean, there isn't too much I can say, except that I appreciate my family. They're always here to help me when I need them. I know they care about me, and I can always count on them. Whenever we're in a pinch here at the restaurant, I call on all of them, and they all come, and we're all one happy family. Sometimes we disagree about things, but that's not too often.
Yeah.
But all of that makes up when we're all happy, which is quite often. But as I said, I can always count on them, every one of them. Nobody's ever turned me down when I need them. And that's a big, big help, and that's a big satisfaction. So I can say that I'd like to thank all of them, and I appreciate it. Maybe at times I'm not too nice, but that everybody's like that. Then I'm sorry later on, just like everybody. We have gone on a lot of vacations. We've had a wonderful time, and I wish we could go on a few more.
We will.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's fine.
En Espanol?
Pues que estoy muy contenta con toda mi familia, que estoy muy orgullosa de todos, que todos han contribuido a hacer este restaurante lo que es hoy, con su ayuda, y esto, doy las gracias a todos.
Muchas gracias, Trini Chula.
Thank
Nosotros te amamos.
you, Lord. Thank you. I love all of you too.